Hey everyone, welcome to another Intro to HTML video. In this video we're going to look back at the markup that we made in a previous video on lists. And we're going to figure out how to style these things. Alright, so to review. In a previous video we talked about making unordered lists and ordered lists. An unordered list, you may recall, is going to have the UL element, which is the root, that defines when the list begins and ends. And then it has a series of LI elements. And these LI elements will define where list items are. In other words, where the bulleted things are going to be. If I run this in the browser, you'll see what I'm talking about. This is my UL right here. Remember, it was ingredients for bread, and I told you I have no idea how to make bread. Salt, flour, eggs, water, and yeast. Those are my bulleted items for my unordered list. Unordered list means that these are items that don't need to be in any particular order. They can show up wherever you want within that list. They just need to be in a list. They're all part of a collection. An ordered list is one where these things have to happen in a certain order. For example, an algorithm would be an example of an ordered list. An algorithm would be something like a recipe or directions from your home to the gas station or something like that. Those are algorithms or step-by-step sets of instructions. So here's the steps for making bread. Mix flour and salt and yeast in a large bowl. Actually, you get warm water and you mix the yeast into it. And then this is a sub-list. I really don't know how to make bread. And then there's the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step. That's our ordered list. These things need to happen in a particular order, so we put them in a numbered list. Well, you might say, I don't want this just to be a numbered list. I want this to be a list with ABCs, or I want to use traditional Georgian characters, or I want to use Cyrillic, or whatever. There are all sorts of different types of numbering systems that you can use for your ordered lists. Today we're going to talk about that stuff. We're going to talk about changing what those bullets look like. Alright, so we're going to have to do this through style, CSS. I've got my unordered list, I've got my ordered list that was nested, you may recall. You should have this same file as well. You did this in a previous video. If you don't have this, you might have to go back and remake these lists really quickly so that you have these and you can work on them for this video. I'm going to go up to the style sheet. The main property that we're going to be working with is the one called list style type. List style type. Now, if I did something like this, UL list style type, I could choose none, I could choose square, I could choose disk, or I could choose circle. I'm going to see what circle looks like with a UL. What the circle is going to do is it's going to give us a little open circle. What we had before was called disk. Disk is the default. Oops. D-I-S-C, disk. Save it, refresh it, and you'll watch these little bullets right here. They're the filled in circles, or the disks. Circle is the open circle. Okay? So this is the list style type property. It's got several values. For unordered lists, the values that we can use are circle, disk, square, and none. Square is going to give us a square bullet. None is going to give us no bullet at all. Whoops. I just closed my file accidentally. Open this back up again. None is going to give us no bullets at all. There we go. So it takes away the bullets. This is going to come in handy later on. List style type none. You might not think it's very handy right now because in a list you usually want to see bullets. But Later on, we're going to find reasons not to have any bullets. Now, let's address the ordered list. Ordered list with list style type has a lot more options, a lot more values. Let's look at some of those values. I'm going to start with lower Roman. Roman is for Roman numerals. Roman numerals are going to be your I, IV, V, VI, so on and so forth. We know what those Roman numerals are. This is the lowercase Roman. You could also do upper Roman. UPPR, Roman. And that's going to give you uppercase Roman numerals. Okay? And you can see where my lists start over. This is my outermost list, 1, 2, 3, 4. Inner list, 1, 2, 3. And inner list, 1. There's a whole group of different list style type properties. And as a resource, there's this website, w3.org, which is a pretty darn good website. It's going to tell you all of the way that elements and properties and all the CSS and HTML stuff is supposed to work within the languages. And this is going to give us a list of all of the values. So the UL ones, disk, circle, square, and then the OL ones, decimal, decimal leading 0, lower Roman, upper Roman, lower Greek, lower Latin, upper Latin, Armenian, Georgian, lower alpha, upper alpha, none, inherit. And there's actually even more than just these, but these are the ones that will work in all browsers. Let's take a look at what some of these are. Decimal. Decimal is the default. That's the one that we started with. That's just going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Decimal leading 0 is going to be zeros in front of the numbers. So if we did decimal leading 0, this is what we get. Some of the other ones, lower Greek, upper Greek, and it's going to change them to Greek letters. Now you can experiment with these. Look around on the internet, see what kind of values are available. What you might do is do a really quick Google search for list style type property and go to several different websites and see what kind of values are available to you. Experiment, play with it, see what you can do. Now this is just the basics for styling a list. You might say, well, this ordered list isn't very useful because I've got lists nested in lists. I want it to look like an outline. And I'm not doing that. This doesn't look much like an outline. It's got indentation and it's got restarting of my numbering on my lists. But I want it so that each level of nested list has a different number system. Okay, this makes it a little more tricky. This is going to bring us to a topic called Descendant Selection. Descendant Selection is a way of selecting HTML elements based on their relationship to other HTML elements. I'm going to start this way. OL is going to be upper alpha. And what that's going to do is going to select all OLs. Okay? I'm going to try this. OL caret OL. This is the descendant selector. It's saying that all OLs that exist within other OLs. So this is saying I'm selecting the OL that's nested inside another OL. Let's see what happens when we do list style type decimal. It's selected all OLs that are nested inside of other OLs. So this OL right here that was nested inside of the outer OL gets decimal. This OL here that's nested inside of this OL gets decimal. Well, how do I target this innermost? If we look at the HTML, the innermost list is right here. So it's an OL that exists within an OL that exists within an OL. If we wanted to target all OLs that were nested, we did OL. If we want to target all lists that are nested inside of other lists that are nested inside of other lists, we do OL. And I'm going to do lower Roman. And there we go. I changed that to a lower Roman numeral. Now this is called Descendant Selection. I'm going to tell you that this is one way of doing things. You can do this. Technically it works in the browsers. It's not necessarily the best or most efficient way of doing it. When you get down to the lowest levels and you get to the nuts and bolts of the way a browser works and how it parses through HTML, this is a rather slow way of going about it. And when we're talking about pages loading in the browser and we're talking about how fast they'll load and how many bits per second it's going to be able to process, this is going to slow things down a little bit. Is it going to slow it down in your page load time down in such a way that it's going to really affect anybody's user experience? No, probably not. There are some developers out there and some experts out there that say you shouldn't do it this way because it's really going to slow down your page load time. There are quicker ways of doing it, but I'm going to tell you right now this is the easiest way to do it for where you are right now in your learning. I'm going to show you other ways of going about doing this sort of thing at another time, but this is one way of getting into being more specific about the way you select things, and it gives you another tool for your toolbox. So is it the best way of going about this? No. Is it the way that you can go about it right now and learn a new skill? Yes. So should you continue using this in the future? You know, for now, it's fine. As you become more advanced and get more expertise in this and learn more about page load times and all that kind of stuff, maybe then you'll make better decisions based on the technologies that you have. But for now, this is a fine way of doing it. So this is called Descendant Selection. Selecting items based on their relationship to other items within the structure of the HTML document. Now, you can style lists using background colors and colors just like you can select anything else in the HTML document. I'm not going to go over that in this video. You know how to select an element now. You know how to set the background color. You know how to set the color of the font. You know how to set things like the font family, the font weight, the font variant, the font style. You know how to set all that stuff. So I'm not going to demonstrate in that video. But I encourage you, now that this video is almost done, to dig into this CSS a little bit more and see what happens if you set OL color green. Will it do what you think it will do? Well, it did what I thought it would do. It changed the innermost list item to green. What would happen if I changed the background color? What would happen if I changed the font family? This is when it comes time for you to start exploring. Thanks for watching.